Hey guys, I'm Captain Foley,
I'm Connor Coggins.
and we've encountered kind of a temporal anomaly here on Trekyards today. We're actually going to be doing something fun and creative and revisiting our first official script, as it were, the Romulan Warbird, or Bird of Prey.
Yeah, October 10th, 2014 is when Trekyards started for the masses. And this is that exact script, reread for you in 2017 with all of our knowledge and improved presenting skills, but the same exact script. You've seen the original, you've seen the journey to get from there to here. Let's revisit.
It's been a long road, getting from there to here. It has been.
Trekyards, Season 1, Episode 1, the second pilot, because that was a joke straight away that I planned. I said we should do
Yes.
a double pilot.
And I think it's worth saying too that we didn't initially do scripting per se as a thing back then. We did point form notes, and then we wanted to be more fluid.
Yes, which
But
we weren't.
we weren't very confident with presenting, and we didn't know we would have a fan base and people that love us.
Oh.
So, yeah,
But the same exact script.
same exact script.
The Romulan Warbird, nicknamed Bird of Prey, because of its distinctive hull markings of a bird on its underside, first seen in the TOS Season 1 episode, Balance of Terror. Its predecessor appeared in the first episode of, or the Enterprise episode, Minefield.
The prototype, seen in 2266, remained in service till 2305, peaking around 2274 with around 250 years of being in active service. In Star Trek Online, the Romulans still use a similar design in 2409.
The ship is 68 meters in length, which is roughly 3 times the length of a Danube-class shuttlecraft.
It has 5 decks.
It has a crew between 150 to 170. That is so many crew, Stuart. How on earth are you fitting that many people in this ship?
Yeah, I only used like 1 or 2 research sources at the time. But anyway, the original version in Balance of Terror's only weapon was an experimental heavy plasma torpedo launcher.
This warbird could modify the strength by limiting the amount of plasma used. One shock is powerful as up to 20 photon torpedoes.
Now, the only way to survive a plasma torpedo unharmed, well, relatively, is to fire energy weapons such as phasers or disruptors to dissipate the plasma strength. Photons will not affect them. Or you can outrun them, as they have a limited range, and plasma strength does dissipate over distance.
The Bird of Prey variant we saw in Balance of Terror in the 23rd century had limited shields and relied mainly on reinforced hull plating.
Because the Bird of Prey was outfitted with a cloaking device as its main defensive systems, shields would be lowered while cloaked, so they prioritized making it one tough little ship without its shields.
And he added little. Yeah, you had little. It was just
It just
tough
said
ship.
one tough ship without its shields. Yes, I didn't want to make a joke back then. Heaven forfend.
But now it's a first contact reference, as we always say. The Bird of Prey weapons prototype we saw in Balance of Terror was a sublight vessel and was dropped off by a larger warbird of unknown class. Other warbirds did have warp, but these were called warp eagles. They had cruising speeds of warp 6, which they could also push to warp 8 for 2 hours. And they do mention it being able to go to warp in the show, and they also don't, and there's problems with that. So we went with this version of the original script.
Well, it's based off Starfleet Battles designs. But they were powered by 2 RWC-1 warp drive units. So I'm glad to see that back in the day I was still using the Starship Spotter for a lot of technical aspects as far as engines go.
We sounded smart.
Yes. And since then we've met Rob Bonchoon, who co-wrote that book. So, Or 6 RIB-1 nuclear fusion impulse drives, which are simple impulse fusion style generators, depending on if it was a War Eagle or a War Bird.
The expected hull life was 30 years, mission length of 2 years. The Warbird's estimated time between refits was 8 years.
And now for trivia facts, because this is something we did. We broke the script up into different
Trivia
categories.
facts.
Trivia facts. So this is things you can amaze your friends with when you have a trivia party of some
And again,
sort.
bullet points, which we're adding to by their own pizzazz.
These aren't really bullet points. These are more like pellet points or like BB points. They're kind of... Anyway, first ship in Star Trek history with cloaking capability. At least on screen, not canon. So, well, not chronological, I mean.
Cannot fire while cloaked.
What? 2266 was its first test across the neutral zone.
Destroyed several Federation outposts before being stopped by the original Enterprise.
Romulan strategy was to test enemies first and try to determine how best to defeat them. They used stealth and managed to go unknown as their aggressors in most of their encounters.
Loss of the prototype Warbird convinced the Romulans they couldn't compete with the Federation, which led to their treaty with the Klingons in 2267, and the sharing of cloaking technology for a fleet of D7 battlecruisers, which became the core of the Romulan fleet, as we saw in the TOS Season 3 episode, The Enterprise Incident.
Episode 4, to be exact, in Season 3.
And there's some nice symmetry there, because we've released the episode about the treaty in full detail, so we got to it eventually, guys.
Yeah, which I just wrote like 2 or 3 weeks ago, so we've come full circle in almost 3 years here. The Warbird was capable of landing on a planet's surface.
They were also equipped with 2 3-person shuttlecrafts for the 150 people.
Large birds of prey painted on their hulls, which gave the appearance of swooping down upon their prey.
Although you had to do it in like this angle to look like it, which is a very awful maneuver. Do this.
Yeah.
It's
kind of like...
The predecessor, that's nice, Warbird, the Enterprise, was a patrol class measuring 130 meters long. Was armed with powerful disruptor cannons and had both a cloaking device and warp drive of at least warp 5. These disruptors would have ripped through the next one's hull plating in a battle, and it's worth saying we're reading this verbatim.
Yeah, all right. So discussion, because this is the discussion part of the show, which in the early days we broke the show up quite a bit.
Underlined discussion,
Yes.
bold underlined.
Yes, Stewart. It says. Oh, that's me. The thing I like most about this ship is it looks amazing from the bottom. It's pretty cool from the sides. It's got some cool looks there. However, I do not like the fore and aft views, as it looks really slender and unimpressive. Although this design may in fact aid in the cloaking field ability. That slim look.
Which we also talked about in another recent episode, coming soon.
Absolutely.
Samuel, my name in the script. I like the ship design. Again, this is literally what we said back in that time, so this is awesome to reread. Samuel,
Yes.
I like the ship, and I wrote this myself. I like the ship design. I think the bird shape really sets off the design aesthetic, and I continued to like all the other Romulan ships seen even in games and expanded canon. They are sleek.
First usage of sleek. Yes.
Episode 1! Although it might be using the pilot, we can't remember. But episode 1, guys, we got there. Sleek. And I said it first, it is a Samuel catchphrase. And I think you can tell there are a warlike species intent on strategically efficient design. Sleek design, apparently. Oh, I have another paragraph.
There's
Wow.
more. There's more. You got a lot to say.
The thing Stuart's like this much, and I have like that much. The thing I like most is more aggressive feel. If you're in a fight with a Romulan bird of prey, it would feel if it was swooping on you with its powerful plasma weapons. I'm sure most ships of the time wouldn't be able to stand up to the assault. It's a good design, and I would love to see space battles between it and then its refit during the Romulan War. I think I mean the old one, but both of them, they're both cool.
Yes. Now the thing I like least, probably the fact that it is unable to fire while cloaked. Really, I said that? Oh my god.
Such a cop-out.
It is an advancement that would have guaranteed success, as well as a major tactical advancement. Because I needed to tell you guys that, for you guys to know that.
I think in my brain I'm saying duh.
Duh. Yeah, for sure.
The thing I like least, I think, is the fact the vessel we see in Bounce Terror wasn't warp capable, sort of. It's obviously more a weapons platform than rather than a fully fledged starship. But I think the Romulans were right to seek out the Klingons and try and leapfrog ahead in terms of warships, since a single ship armed with a single, even powerful weapon would be easy bird of prey for a fleet of ships. You need something with a more versatile arsenal of defensive systems and offensive, which I think their new and modified D7s would have done well for. Or Stormhawks? Did I have that episode? Is that what they're called? The D7s?
Stormhawks, yes, absolutely.
Evolution of ship design, but no underline. And it's me again, because I didn't give Stuart another line here. In terms of evolution, it's the same for most Enterprise and TOS ships. Everything in the original Series era becomes sleeker, second use, and simpler in terms of design. I think that works. I can definitely see the bird of prey we saw in Bounce Terror being a small prototype. And I think there must have been very many versions of the bird of prey, from larger assault craft to perhaps even shuttle variants, following the same design aesthetic. Stuart.
There's blank scripting here because I can't find my copy of the script, so it's got Stuart and then blank. But I kind of remember what I said.
Okay.
Something along the lines of, I like the idea that there were different versions of this ship. In Starfleet battles, there are warp-capable ones, there are ones that are impulse only, different weapons, loadouts, things like that. So I love the fact that we speculated that it's a larger bird of prey that's warp-capable, bringing this ship in, and it's just simply a test bed for the new plasma torpedo-based weaponry. So no warp systems, just simple, bare-bones power dedicated towards the weapon.
I know John Eves. Oh, we met John Eves. Hey, that's awesome. Didn't know him in this episode, but we know him now. I know John Eves. I know that John Eves, who designed the Enterprise Zero Bird of Prey, wanted to pay homage to the 2S version, and I think he did a great job. I think as a warship, the Enterprise version feels more technological and warlike. I can certainly see the direction the Romulans were going in, how it ended up with an Erickson class from Nemesis.
Now wrap up.
Underlined this time. So yeah, I think it's a sleek craft, and certainly was a big threat during TOS. I set the bar. I hit that ground running, didn't I? Straight in the show.
You did. Again, here,
So-
I don't have a line.
What's your wrap-up, Stuart?
I think it's a great ship. I love the design. I love the look of the bird on the bottom. I think it's what I'm going for there.
You hate the fact you can't fire while cloaked.
Can't fire while cloaked, and it's ugly from the front and the back. Yes. So, now introducing the next ship.
So, it's
This was a thing.
part of the show. We introduce the ship we're doing next, and something a bit more silly and fun, because silly and fun. We take a ship that we've just discussed, and the ship we're going to discuss, and argue which would win in versus.
And the next episode we will be looking at is the Phoenix, Zeph Cochrane's legendary warp ship as seen in First Contact.
And
Now,
Stuart, you're gonna get the bird of prey, and I'm gonna get the Phoenix.
oh, hold on a second. I got to jump in here and say, this was something we did for the first 12 episodes probably.
Yes.
Introduced the next ship, and then due to production and just the way that filming and adding all the extra animations and things that you do, just we couldn't release them in the proper schedule, so we needed to change things up a little bit, right? So we got rid of the verses because a lot of people even complained that the verses were just too silly, and so.
But we're doing it anyway. Again,
It's evolution. We are doing it again. I got the bird of prey.
although I will just say, nowadays I don't think there's a single episode in the last 3 months we recorded that week, releasing that week of any given. I mean, we just don't do that. We totally out of order everything. So
Some are filmed and 6 months later get released because we finally got all the assets we need or whatever.
we've got fleet yards from literally October before our mission trip. It's not
so we
October yet.
We have some films that have been in the bank for months that aren't released yet. So
Normally for good reason though. But Stuart, we are versusing, so you're right.
are.
You're getting the Enterprise Zero Bird of Prey. And I'm getting the Phoenix.
I'm getting this bird of prey, the TOS version.
Yes.
So we're talking about Enterprise there.
Oh, what's the next word in the script, Stuart? What's the last word of this entire script?
Argue, fight. It says argue. Fight.
So Stuart, who wants to go first in this battle? You or me, do you think?
Oh, I will.
Okay.
Oh, you can't. No. Yeah. Okay. I'm coming in cloaked, as you see.
Okay.
And then I decloak. And fire my plasma weapon. And then cloak again.
Well, I'm dead.
Yes, you are.
Now, I remember last time I remember it was a ridiculous concept. We just wanted to do random order of ships. And I said, oh, no, but my Phoenix... No, damn, that was actually the DY100. I said it was a quantum gumbo. Damn, I didn't even...
Quantum gunboat against the Federation class dreadnought.
I don't even remember what I did for this. Okay, so Phoenix. Okay, so warp capable. Bit of metal between you and space. What I'll do...
And ironically enough, this one was not warp capable.
It's true. Mostly. Probably. Okay, what I'm going to do is I am going to... So you're starting to decloak. Well, me being wherever I am, I'm expecting trouble because why the hell am I out in the middle of nowhere in Romulan space? I'm coming after you, Stuart. I'm going to utilise the missile nature of the ship and destroy you. So I'm going to... As we start to get towards you, you decloak. And I'm like, go! And we jettison the pod, the front pod. It rolls out of the way in thrusters. Then, on emergency
This
maneuver...
is way better than the first time, I guarantee you.
Thank you. And then you start to fire the plasma, but as you know, plasma is a bit whatever. So I'm going to activate the warp drive, which creates a warp bubble. As it starts to go through, the warp bubble, I think, your plasma can't hit a warp bubble. I mean,
Okay,
that's...
Hold what? Just hold on. One thing. Whoa. So you separated your main cab, and it's
Yes. So the rest of the ship
how'd you activate warp
exists.
drive? Because the warp drive's in the rest of the ship.
Yes, but that's the point. I'm remotely activating that the rest of the ship's warp drive.
Okay.
The warp bubble is your plasma can't do anything to warp bubble, so it like goes around it. Then it warps, but it warps into your ship. But because it's so close and they've timed it so well, it's like a sub warp. We remember from episode 7, Star Wars, which definitely wasn't out when this was out. They hyperspace inside a ship and everything, collapses. So same thing. As it warps into and through your ship, it obviously it's got no shield, so the hull can't withstand that. So it makes like a ripping tear through your ship as it forces its way through it. A light speed basically, which then rips your ship apart. And I'm stuck in space, and I die from dehydration. But I got some really great movies on the flight computer, and I sent a signal back home saying, "We did it, guys. Earth is safe."
The answer is no, because first of all, your ship doesn't have the sensor capabilities, advanced sensor capabilities, to able to detect my ship decloaking, unless you're visually looking at the exact same spot that I'm decloaking at the time.
Well, yes.
Because it's a primitive ship. I just need to get my point across here. And then you said I can't hit a warp bubble, but I can, because in Balance of Terror, they were warping away from the plasma torpedo, and it still impacted them as they were because it can hit. And so you're wrong.
But what if
you'd be pretty much screwed.
But what if I warp through the plasma? I mean, even if I warp through the plasma and it does hit the ship, you've still got partially light speed components being flung at your ship. Your armor's not going to survive wreckage of this thing hitting your ship.
Well, I'm not that close to you. First of all, I can fire from
Yeah, but in this show they're very close. I thought you'd be really, really close.
No,
and
they
directly
weren't
in front
really
of
close.
us.
Just that's the magnification on the viewer that looks like it's close.
But I was hoping you'd be literally just in front of me there.
I can be close, but no, you don't have shields. So
you don't have shields.
You wouldn't have any shield. I would when I decloak, because
No,
as
you
they
have armor.
decloak.
You said you have armor, no shields.
No, it has armor for while it's cloaked in case it gets a hit.
Oh.
It has, as it decloaks, the shielding system comes back on, so it's shielded. Then as it decloaks, it goes down again. Okay, so maybe it is going down. Maybe it is going down while I decloak. But the fact is, you don't have any shields, so the plasma hitting your ship is devastating regardless. You don't even have a deflector to deflect any particles out of your way at warp.
That wouldn't make any difference anyway. Okay, you know what I'm gonna do?
What?
After
this is way longer than our first verses.
Yeah, after our maneuver fails, this is even longer than the first episode. After the maneuver fails, I'm gonna put on the EVA suit, open up the canopy, get outside, and use that gun that Worf used in First Contact because he left us one. We're gonna say, cloak this, and hit your hull repeatedly with the plasma thingy.
But by then I've cloaked and moved, so.
Well, that's good. Then your armor won't be able to survive the 24th century bolts.
It would, for sure it would. But only 1 or 2 hits, and then I'd be moving out of your way, and then you wouldn't know where I went.
Okay, so what next? I'm out outside the ship on a little pod at EVA with a gun. What do you do next?
Then I'm just going to aim my ship directly at you at impulse power and just, speed through your chest.
Get those spikes out and just, stab me. Just, really meanly. Yeah.
Yes. Or just decloak above you and go, oh, look, I'm a bird, and then cloak and take out.
I'll just go lower, just slam me down the ground.
Anyway, guys, I don't know how we extroed our old shows, but that's it. I guess we determined that I would probably win.
No.
We didn't see that coming. He did a valiant effort on Samuel's part, though. Some great thinking and innovation there. So, love that.
Thank you.
That's the thing.
We've got more Trekkie in these 2 years.
So anyway, we'll see you next time, guys, as we do the warp, the Phoenix, Ephraim Cochrane's warp ship.
Thanks this week on Trekyards, because we told you, versus. But we hope you guys enjoyed this. It was a bit of an experiment. We've obviously come a long, long way, as you can see. What do you think, Stuart? Rereading a script from literally 2.5 years ago. What do you think?
A refinement process is pretty interesting. It refined pretty quick between this one and episode 5 or 6 even. We got full scripting by that point and things. But it's interesting to go back and see this kind of style. I like it. Actually, I learned a few things again because I haven't seen the episode in a while. So 1 or 2 little facts stuck out to me, which was interesting, I guess.
And I like, obviously, the way I think we didn't do as well originally is because we had lack of confidence. It wasn't our jam. It wasn't our thing, So same information. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It's the exact same thing, but
Yes.
Just the presenting, just the confidence has really elevated this. I had a lot of fun. I think I still interview things, and I think, this is way longer than the last episode with the same information. So,
and I think it's worth saying that this one will be remastered at some point with a lot more information, a lot better everything. But we just want to have a little fun with this and kind of do a redo of the original script. So
but hey, you've got the new renders. You've got the Eagle Moss version of the Bird of Prey. You've got the studio asset version of this Bird of Prey. I mean, or Warbird. They're both.
You still got my pewter Franklin Minute one that was sitting here the whole time during the episode.
Some things don't change.
It's true.
Except our audio, video, quality, presenting, facts, resolution, LCARs.
Confidence,
fan base, hairs, beard, probably weight. I've got bigger.
Yeah, I have too, for sure. But,
So until next 2020, when we redo this episode for a third time, I'm Commander Cockings.
And I'm Captain Foley. Back then, you just called yourself Sam. You didn't like the Commander Cockings title.
Sorry, I'm Sam Cockings.
And I'm Captain Foley, because I already had that established.
Bye, guys.
And we are not Trekyards yet, but see you later, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.